Look, you can criticize the design of the Tesla Cybertruck all you want, but think about how accurate the Lego model is going to be. Oh my God. Ever since the Cybertruck was unveiled, pretty much everybody I know has asked me my thoughts about it. And honestly, I think that's what Tesla has done really well with this particular unveiling, is that regardless of whether or not you're a Tesla fan, people are very interested in this product and definitely talking about it, love it or hate it. And I guess I'll get right to it. I am not a big fan of the way that it looks. I'm not a big fan of the Tesla brand in general. And for those wondering, I will not be buying a Tesla Cybertruck. I think what's really interesting about the Tesla brand and the market that they've created is just that. They're not really competing against the other manufacturers. Yes, we're seeing stuff like the Porsche Taycan becoming available, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot more full-on electric vehicles from big brands like Mercedes and BMW that are going to be on the same level in terms of range and performance. I honestly think we're only 2 or 3 years out from that being a normal thing, at which point Tesla's going to have a lot more competition. But for the last 4, 5, 6 years, they've pretty much been the only ones, and they've gotten people interested in cars that wouldn't normally be interested in cars. And I think that's what's so weird about the Cybertruck, is the people who are really sold on the concept and the idea of it, the look of it, are people that would probably never buy a pickup truck in the first place. I could be totally wrong here, but I would guess that the vast majority of people that currently drive normal trucks, Ford, Chevy, Dodge, Ram, whatever it may be, I don't think that they're selling their truck immediately and putting their deposit down for a Tesla Cybertruck. The people who are interested in the Cybertruck are people that would have never bought a truck, but because it's a Tesla product and looks the way that it does, they're interested in it. And I have to credit Elon Musk because I think he's a very clever businessman. This thing that they do where they unveil what is more or less a hypothetical vehicle. I know they had a physical Cybertruck to show, and I think they built a couple of them, but at this moment, it's purely a concept, and I don't think there's any kind of concrete release date. But they show you this product and they say, hey, if you want to pre-order one, give us a $100 deposit, and when we actually make it, yours is secured. And I think at this point, at least what I read, maybe there's more now, they secured over 200,000 $100 deposits, which when you're talking about a car that's supposed to start at $40,000, $100 is pretty meaningless, and pretty much anyone can give that. It doesn't mean they're actually going to be able to afford the truck, and it also doesn't mean that this truck is really ever going to exist. Essentially what he's created is a giant interest-free loan that Tesla followers seem to have no problem giving out. As for the design, the name itself really tells you what Tesla was trying to do with the Cybertruck. They could have just called it the Tesla truck, and I'm sure people still would have been interested, but because it's the Cybertruck, it kind of implies this futuristic vehicle, which when you look at it, it looks like something you would have seen in a movie depicting the future 30 years ago, and some people love it, some people hate it. It definitely has some DeLorean vibes about it. I kind of like the fact that they went with this all stainless steel look. That's something that I think is pretty cool, but quite frankly, when I first saw the pictures on Instagram when it got unveiled, I thought it was fake. I can't say that I'm a huge fan of the way that it looks, but I also can't say that it's completely terrible. I understand why somebody might like that. And I think what's important about the design more than anything is obviously because of the way it looks, that is what has drawn so much attention. Everybody wants to share their opinion. And I think what a lot of people aren't considering as well is that the presence of that vehicle, if it ever makes it to the road, in comparison to all the other cars, it's gonna have this standout presence of a Lamborghini or a Ferrari or a McLaren. These are the cars that when you see them drive by, everyone notices, and that's only a good thing for the brand. It certainly doesn't blend into the crowd, which is obviously what Tesla was going for here with the Cybertruck, which is a little bit unusual because I would say that the rest of their current lineup, from a design standpoint, I don't want to say that they're ugly cars, but they're certainly not the most stylish and not the most visually appealing, at least in my opinion. They're cars that kind of blend into the crowd. I know there's Tesla fanboys that probably think they're the most beautiful things in the world, but quite frankly, I think that the Model S, as an example, for as much as the P100D costs, it actually blows my mind that people spend that kind of money on a car that looks like that. there's something that's just so fun about going that fast in such a giant vehicle. There's also some controversy about some of the features that Tesla showed off with the Cybertruck, like what was, I believe, bulletproof glass that, as you can see, shattered when they threw a steel ball at it. Apparently they tested it, at least they came out with a video after the fact showing that it didn't break, but when it counted, both the front and the rear window broke when they threw a steel ball at it. They were also hitting the truck with a hammer. Apparently it has this super strong steel because of the shape that it is. And it also had, what I thought was cool was the tailgate has this kind of built-in ramp that goes right to the ground. If you did want to put like an ATV or just kind of put something into the back of the truck, roll it in, that's kind of a very convenient thing that I don't think any other truck on the market has. But other than that, from a pickup truck utility standpoint, I don't think there's anything that revolutionary about it other than the fact that it's electric. Speaking of electric power, this is kind of Tesla's signature, and surprise, surprise, the Tesla Cybertruck is extremely fast like all the other ones. The 0 to 60 time, as well as the quarter mile time that they showed, is pretty ridiculous for a pickup truck, although I will say that I don't think, or at least would highly doubt, that they'd be able to achieve those numbers given the tires that they showed on the Cybertruck, which were more kind of off-road tires than they were kind of drag tires, or at least street tires that would have the traction necessary to achieve those kind of numbers. So aside from going really fast, which I'm not sure that you should be doing in a vehicle that big and heavy anyways, just because I think stopping might be a little bit of an issue, but towing is something that's very important. It's the main reason why a lot of people buy pickup trucks. They want to tow their trailer, they want to go camping. It's something that trucks are pretty much designed to do. So you would need the Cybertruck to be capable, or at least on the same level as its competition, all the gas-powered trucks. So like a lot of the manufacturers do, they do this competition where it's kind of set up so they can win, and they make it seem like their truck is so much better than all the other ones, even though the differences are pretty minimal in my opinion. But either way, Tesla thought it would be a good idea to do a tug of war between the Cybertruck and a Ford F-150, basically the most popular vehicle in the US. And if you know anything about trucks, you probably would have noticed that the F-150 that they were using looked to be pretty much a base model, and more importantly, it was just rear-wheel drive. So it's not really that surprising that it lost this test. It was not a fair contest at all. So again, one of those tests that needs to be taken with a grain of salt and didn't really mean anything. What I would be interested to know, and I didn't watch the presentation, so I'm not sure if they went over this, but I'd be curious what the range would end up being when you're actually towing a heavy trailer, because that's a well-known thing with fully electric vehicles. If you drive it really slow and conserve energy, your range is going to be longer. But if you're doing 0 to 60 launches at every single stoplight, your range is basically going to be chopped in half, if not more. So in the case of towing something where you're pulling with all electric power, I'm not sure what that would do to the overall range of the battery. I have to imagine that it wouldn't be that great. If the numbers Tesla is claiming are true, then I think that this is going to be a very impressive vehicle from a performance standpoint, like a lot of the Teslas are, at least in a straight line. But when it comes to actually having the functionality of a pickup truck, I'm not sure that it's going to do that better than the trucks that are currently available, unlike how Tesla is presenting the Cybertruck to everyone. And I guess the most surprising aspect of this that a lot of Tesla followers are not really picking up on is whether or not this is a viable thing for Tesla to actually make and put on the road. Because when I saw this thing, I immediately thought, oh, it's a concept vehicle, Tesla's just showing off something cool. But then I saw they're saying you're actually going to be able to buy this thing. And if you know anything about cars and safety regulations, there's a lot about what they showed that wouldn't really be road legal at all. Or at least that's how it looks to me. I think everyone understands that they do crash testing on pretty much any new vehicle to make sure that it's safe for the road, but a lot of people don't consider that it's not just for the safety of the people inside of the vehicle, it's for the safety of the people outside of the vehicle as well. Now granted, if you get hit by a car, it's probably not going to end well for you, but they do take into consideration how the impact is going to be if you were to hit somebody, and they try to make it as safe as possible for that person being hit. And when you look at the Cybertruck with these flat edges and just sharp corners, I don't see that passing the safety standards that I think would be required for the car to be road legal. What Tesla has really been able to do well as a brand is appeal to the non-car enthusiasts and make them interested in cars, which is something, as a car enthusiast myself, while I'm not a huge fan of the Tesla brand, I do appreciate what they're doing for the automotive industry, because more people than ever, I think, are interested. Is that a fire truck? More people than ever are interested in cars. And I will say that most of the Tesla owners that I've met, the first nice car that they've ever purchased is a Tesla. And really, up until that point, they didn't care about cars at all. They just drove whatever they would buy for whatever they deemed to be a reasonable price with whatever features that they decided that they needed. And I think why Tesla as a brand appeals to people that aren't car enthusiasts is because it is basically an iPhone with wheels. If you like being on your phone, you get into a Tesla and it's basically an extension of that experience. You don't even have to drive the thing if you don't want, which is something that I don't like in a car. When I get in a car, I want to experience actually driving it. I want to hear the engine. I want it to drive a certain way, where Tesla people don't seem to be as concerned about that. They like the fact that it's electric. I don't see too many Tesla owners kind of bragging about the fact that their car is more environmentally friendly. I would say the vast majority of Tesla people that I've met tell me immediately about how fast their Tesla is more than anything, which is the least efficient way of actually driving the thing, and it kind of defeats the whole purpose. But either way, the fact that people who wouldn't normally be into cars are into Teslas, I don't necessarily think is a terrible thing. With that said, I'm very curious to see what's going to happen over the next 2 or 3 years, because part of Tesla's success has been based around the fact that they've pretty much been the only game in town. But 2 or 3 years from now, we're going to have full-on electric vehicles from companies like BMW and Mercedes, these established manufacturers, where they're going to be able to match the performance numbers and the range, perhaps even exceed what Tesla is doing. And at that point, they're going to have some real competition. I think the vehicles are going to have to be very special. I think Tesla has realized that, and that's why they're showing off stuff like the Cybertruck, because they know for a fact none of the other manufacturers would even think about showing off a vehicle that looks like that and trying to sell it to their customers, which is a brilliant move on Tesla's part, doing something that every other manufacturer would be afraid to do. And so far, it seems to be working out for them. Yeah, there's a lot of people that hate the way that it looks, but the fact that everyone is talking about Tesla is definitely a good thing for the brand. Whether or not the Cybertruck actually becomes a real vehicle, only time will tell. In the meantime, I'm perfectly happy with my Ford Raptor.